Born an innocent girl, trying to find love in this cold, cold world. False promises, trying to... The way is open, and now it just feels better. It feels right. So it feels like everything I've done before opening the way doesn't even matter. So I'm starting the story all over. And that's the power of spirit. Spirit. Something you can't explain. Something you can't control. Yeah. So give thanks to the Most High for what is happening, what we're going through. This is my testimony for Sacred Woman. Now, I had been born in West Virginia, raised in the Carolinas, and lived in Atlanta as well as New York a lot of my life. And through it all, I never felt like I had control or power or any say-so in my life until I started waking up into this power of Sacred Woman. And I didn't pick it. It picked me. Sacred Woman picked me, okay? Many years ago when I started rapping, I started out born Talisha Davis, which means little girl, which just makes perfect sense. Like I always just felt like a little girl who just had no control over her life and just had to do whatever everyone else said. I had so many people running my life without even realizing it, okay? It was a real deal. Once I started making my own decisions and doing what I wanted to do, I just realized I didn't really feel fully supported. I didn't feel like I had the same as others. And it's not ever good to compare, because that's where you start to get like, oh, when I seen others with loving parents and supportive parents, and I would just feel like, why don't I get the same support? It threw me off a lot. So long story short, as I was coming up, I started my music career, and there's a whole crazy story about how that started too, with The Secret and learning law of attraction. And I literally manifested my manager, who signed me on the spot. And we worked together for a little over a year before I ended up really just leaving because I felt surrounded by demons. Now, I know that's weird, and I'll get more into that in the other video. So make sure you look for the my secret testimony, how I got my manager, something like that. I'll put The Secret Law of Attraction to find a manager. That's probably what I'll call the video. I don't know, but staying focused on this, once my manager, first of all, I felt like I was surrounded by demons, so I left. I ended up in the church heavy and ended up dating someone in the church who ended up holding me hostage for an entire week. We were together 5 months, and then some things happened, and then he didn't want me to leave or whatever, and I was held hostage literally for like a week. I couldn't leave. And that was the most terrifying thing. The first time I experienced trauma was that. And I had to break out and run and escape, and it was just so involved that it took so much to just even get me to a normal space again. So went through that. Then just after all the trauma and just needing to heal and not finding healing anywhere, just finding more abuse. And that's when I realized everything was kind of off, something really had to change. I tried everything I could on my own for years. And it wasn't until 2018, I believe, when I was in New York, recently broke up with my boyfriend, moved out by myself, and was just trying to figure it out and didn't know. And I started learning deeper into spirituality because I just felt like, God, I'm so good to people. I love, I'm good, I give. And my meters were off because I was taught incorrectly. I was taught energetically to give to others before I take care of myself. I wasn't energetically really taught to take care of myself and consider myself first. I was more so energetically taught like, oh, you don't matter. It's not about you. So I had a subconscious action of taking care of others before myself. And at the end of the day, when I do that, I couldn't blame anybody. They'd always say, well, it's your fault. Like, and I'm like, how is this possible? How can I give my all to someone and then they turn around and say, well, nobody told you to do that. And then I'm left with nothing. And how is this? You know, so I was really angry. I was really upset with Spirit. And I was like, God, I feel like I give, I love, I do everything you say. And this is not it. This is not it, you know? And I remember Bobby Hemmett saying, pray to your ancestors. Your ancestors, they love you. They know you more than anybody. Or, you know, they actually know you. And, you know, they can help you. And I was like, what? This was so foreign to me. So I started this practice, though. And at the time, it was my grandfather was the main one. So I know he liked vodka. And they're like, so what? Whatever they like, put it out there. If he liked vodka, put it out there. If he liked, you know, so I was like, okay. And I started doing that. And I got led to this. Actually, a friend of mine called me. I remember it was a new moon. And I started getting in tune with the moon cycles as well. And they were saying, like, every new moon is a new cycle. It's a new opportunity to start fresh and manifesting what you want. And each cycle reveals this and that. And I didn't know any of this stuff. So I'm, like, getting excited into it. Like, oh, shoot now, you know? And as I'm learning, I'm just practicing, doing different things, just seeing what will actually work for me. Because I was feeling like nothing was working for me. So a friend of mine just so happened to call and ask me to go with him to an Oscar party. And as we get to the party, I didn't want to go, but Spirit was like, go. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go. I went and I saw these two beautiful Black queens. They were so beautiful, okay? When I tell you radiant, they were glowing like beauty. Like next level. I was like, oh my gosh, they are so beautiful. And usually, you know, especially like down south or whatever, if you see some pretty girls or whatever, a lot of times they'll be like kind of too good for everything and you can't really talk to them. But these queens, oh, they were so loving and just every word they said was just empowering and loving, and I just was so grateful for meeting them. One was a belly dance instructor. She also sold waist beads, and the other was a crown maker, and she also would have amazing events like queen empowerment, sisterhood empowerment, elevation type of events. So, in speaking to them, I was just so enlightened. I was so empowered talking to them. Like, wow, these females are on some other stuff. You know, I'm used to the bitch. What's up, bitch? Yeah, bitch. So they was like, yes, queen, you are a goddess. You are so beautiful. Yes, we are going to elevate. It was just different, you know. And I was like, yeah, this is like more what I'm into. You know, I'm not really into all that bitch, hoe, thought, twerking, slut, you know. No, I'm not into none of that. Like, I'm more into like the goddess, the intimacy, the spirituality of it all, you know, versus what we was dealing with in hip-hop culture, especially at that time. So we exchanged information. I let them know what I was going, that I was plugged, because I was actually plugged at the time. So at the time, I had recently lost my job, I was working at Equinox doing sales, and I was diagnosed with lupus. And in the same week, I got fired for not producing like I should. But I knew something was off because my body was like, it wasn't feeling right. I was like having a severe mental fog. I couldn't concentrate. It was bad. So I knew something was off. I went to the doctor. Sure enough, they diagnosed me with lupus and then they fired me. So I was like, oh, what? So it's like every time I work hard and build myself to a certain place and I get snatched out, I know it's God, because every time I get snatched out, I'm always blessed with something way better. And my roommate ended up connecting me with the marketing team of GT's Living Food, GT Kombucha, and I was able to do some activations, helping to hire. I hired some brand ambassadors. I was able to also find events and just really run the whole activation of the events. I was able to sponsor different events and things like that. So at that time, when I met those ladies, I let them know, if you have any events coming up, we can sponsor and bring the kombucha, and they really appreciated that. So we really stayed in contact through that, and they ended up inviting me to some really cool events. So one in particular, the first one actually, I think, the first one, Queen Afua, was present. And the first time I heard Queen Afua's name was when Nipsey Hussle died. And this was like a couple months prior to this. And they were in a GQ interview, and Lauren London asked Nipsey Hussle, what book am I reading right now? And he was like, I know it's by Queen Afua, but I don't remember what it's called or whatever. And I was like, who? And she's like, it's called Sacred Woman. And it was just like, bing, bing. It just went off in the radar in my mind. So if you're ever hearing things, you hear so many things on a day-to-day basis. So if you're ever hearing things and it goes off in your mind like, bing, bing, what is that? Pay attention, because usually that is an indication of something that your spirit is trying to connect you to, and there's a purpose behind it. But so many times our radars might go off and we don't even pay attention, right? Make sure you pay attention to anything that may go off like that. So that happened. Another thing that happened at this many years before, and I should have said this first, a prophet wrote me in my DM and he said, you are a part of Erykah Badu's spiritual family. And I was like, what does that mean? I was so lost. I didn't know what a spiritual family was. I didn't know what he was talking about. I was so confused. All I knew was Jesus. And that's all I knew. So it literally went over my head, right, at that time. And this was like 2012, 11, when I was maybe 2010. So I'm like, Erykah Badu's spiritual family. But that was another thing that stuck in my brain. Although he said it and it went over my head, it still stuck with me. So, what this taught me is how God works, how spirit works, is it's going to happen. It's going to happen to you. And there's really nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it but be in tune or not. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to get in tune, What happened? So they invited me to sponsor an event, and Queen Afua was actually there. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Queen Afua, and she was so intriguing to me, but I didn't really understand. She was dressed very differently with the wrap. Speaking of that, the head wrap to Hootie is yellow, which is going to help me speak my truth. Just having the veil of the color, just changes the context of everything that we're doing. It's also changing the frequencies that I'm omitting and my ability to express my Tahuti. So these are all things you'll learn in Sacred Woman, and it just helps you to be in tune with what's happening instead of life happening to you all the time. And it also allows you to contribute. Yeah, contribute when it's our turn to contribute. And it also helps us to be ready when it's our time. These things are so important. And I learned it all through Queen Afua. And I had no idea who she was until Nipsey Hussle died. And they were on that GQ interview. And then from there, I met some ladies randomly. And then before that, before the Nipsey Hussle, a prophet told me that, hey, you are a part of Erykah Badu's spiritual family. I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't even know Erykah Badu was a part of a spiritual family. I didn't know what he was saying. Like, it was weird to me. I was like, what? So, when I saw Queen Afua the first time and she spoke on the panel, she said, if you want to heal, you have to forgive your parents. And this hit me in the most major way because I was still holding so much unforgiveness for my parents. There was so much I still hadn't said. There was so much that I didn't release. It was so much that I was blocking and feeling but not feeling, if that makes sense, that I needed to really release, fully release. And she started that process, that healing process for me. From there, I looked into her Sacred Woman program and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot afford this. Like, they were going to Africa. I wanted to go. I'm looking at the price. I'm like, I can't afford this. And that was it. I let it go. And then life took its course. I had certain things that happened. I went to New Zealand for opportunity. I came back. COVID happened. And I decided to get my CDL. And in the process of driving my 18-wheeler and doing what I do or whatever, I was able to have the money to join. And I actually did the Sacred Woman program driving over the road, which I do not recommend for anybody, okay? But it's the only way I know I survived over the road was having those tools. Because if it wasn't for that, I know for a fact I wouldn't have lasted as long as I did, or I wouldn't have survived. And it's that deep for me. Sacred Woman was everything for me. First of all, it made me aware of what I was allowing, how I was allowing people to talk to me. And although it was maybe someone in authority over me or someone who raised me or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't give you authority to disrespect me and talk to me any kind of way and treat me any kind of way just because you feel like you have some authority over me. That's the first thing, okay? You deserve respect no matter who you are, okay? And you can stand for your respect no matter who they are. You deserve respect. That was one of the biggest things for me. Another thing is just breaking out of my just bad habits. Like we had to wake up at 4 a.m., okay, to get those blessings. 4 a.m. for your spiritual bath, for your prayers, and you are in that zone until 6, okay? Give God the time, okay? And that's the divine, the time. The word God is even too small. I learned all these things from Queen Afua. And, Queen Esther, she's my favorite. I love Queen Esther too, because, Queen Esther is the rhythm. You know what I'm saying? And Queen Afua is the word. And you need the rhythm and the word to really make it stick, And then they have this sisterhood dynamic that's just what every sister wants. That's that sisterhood, that Asnebet, okay? And you'll learn all this. You'll learn it through Sacred Woman. But I gave a testimony on the call one time with Queen Afua, and everyone was on, and it was just straight from the spirit, and it was perfect. Now I've talked 25 minutes, and I'm still like not feeling like I'm hitting it like I want to, but Sacred Woman helps you break out of those things that you don't realize are holding you back. It helps you break out of that condition of like pleasing everybody but yourself. It gives you space and the know-how to break away from everything and rediscover yourself, to really walk in your truth. A lot of us don't even know what our truth is to walk in. A lot of us are walking in so many other people's truth. We don't even realize we're not walking in our own truth. So it takes a period. Those 12 weeks, every week was needed, if not more. Every week. People say, oh, 12 weeks, that seems so long. No. Every week was needed, and every week walks you through gateways of your life that you never even thought about in such depth. You get to know yourself. You know how to get to know yourself, and you really learn how to get to know other people in the most divine way. I'll say that. I learned how to hold space for myself. I learned when the energy goes left or right, when to just fall back and let the Most High do the job. We are the women. We are the healers. I learned how valuable I am as a woman. And I'm so grateful to Mother Moot, Queen Afua, and Queen Esther. I love them so deeply. I was able to perform my song in my Gateway Meshkinet. It was the last song. It closed the entire Ascension last year. And it was just a beautiful experience. And it was still the beginning. And it's still my birth. My new birth is still fresh. But I feel like, I'm able to give my testimony now. And I'm just grateful for the Most High providing. That's another thing. If you're attracted to Sacred Woman and you want to do it, just stay in the loop. Stay on her page. Stay engaged with her lives. Stay in tune with Queen Afua. Learn who other sacred women are. Engage with other sacred women. And it's gonna pull you in. The money's gonna show up. It may not happen like as fast as you want, but if you stay in that energy and keep holding space for it, the money will come. How you'll get there, how you'll provide to get anything, it'll come. So I pray that this testimony is a blessing to someone. I could go in deeper. I think this is so long. I need to go in another video just to go into deeper depth of just what we did in the gateways. But I just really wanted to just share with you all the amazingness of my testimony and how, the prophet told me I was a part of Erykah Badu's spiritual family, which turned out to be Queen Afua, Sacred Woman, in the Sacred Women program, which is the spiritual family of Erykah Badu. Like, Erykah Badu is a sacred woman. It makes perfect sense what the prophet was saying. I am a part of the spiritual family of Erykah Badu. I see it so clear now. Like, we'll be on calls with Queen Afua, and Erykah Badu will call, and she'll just come through like, hey, mama, like random stuff. And it's just like, Queen Afua is that. She is that loving mother if you didn't have that. She is that woman who's going to speak that motherly, nurturing love and life into you, that beauty into you. I hope this testimony was good. I'm going to do another one just to get into it deeper because I feel like there's so much more I could say, and we've already spent 30 minutes here. So I love you all. Uncle Mur, peace, love, and light. Until we meet again, Ashe.
Go hard, girl, don't play. Hey, hey, hey. Go hard, girl, don't play. Hey, hey. You know where to find me.